Welcome to Nerdarchy, my friends. Nerdarchist Dave here with
Ted, how you doing?
and remember, for nerds by nerds. So today we want to talk to you guys about Dungeons and Dragons classes, specifically the fighter. Now the fighter is typically viewed as the easiest for a new player to learn.
I swing sword and kill monster. Rawr.
Pretty much, right? But so let's look at the fighter, right? So the fighter, all the way back to the basic set, then first edition advanced, which was second, and third, and then we have
Pathfinder, fourth edition, and now D&D next.
Right, or fifth, or whatever the hell they're calling it. But so traditionally, the fighter has always been, if you get someone new to your table, like you just make them be the fighter, because it was a lot easier than trying to figure out the wizard or the cleric, or even the rogue for that matter. But that being said, there's a lot more to it than that, I believe.
Absolutely. I mean, just think of all of the options. Typically, it's like, yes, the fighter. I'm the meat wall. I'm the living shield. I got a shield. I got a sword. I stab. I cut things.
I stand in front of the mage.
But for every single weapon type that's out there, there's a different fighter. I mean, yeah, there's not a huge difference between, a guy with a sword versus a guy with an axe. They're still gonna, hit stuff and kill things. But, what if you decide you want to go with the ranged fighter? I don't want to do a ranger. I want to be really good at killing something from far away.
Let's examine the fighter over the years for a little bit first.
Sure.
Real quick. First, you had first edition, right? And second edition. Pretty much, there was nothing going on. You really did just hit things. And you ended up getting more attacks than everybody else. But, throughout your levels, there wasn't much change. You got better at hitting things. You got more attacks.
Right.
It wasn't until third edition that fighters really came into their own with the feat system, because the fighter was then the master of the feat. They got the most of them, so you could really flavor your combat system, your style, for that character, or not for that matter. You just had a lot of options,
Right.
Compared to previously. Now you like you said, you could make that archer with your fighter, and no, he's not a ranger, and he would actually be better than the ranger because of the feat selection.
Right, he can get all of the ranged feats. You've got all of your weapon focuses, you've got your specializations. So it's like, yeah, you're going to be a better archer because you might get as a ranger some archery options, but you're not going to get everything that the fighter's going to get. And let's face it, weapon specialization, improved weapon specialization, greater weapon specialization. When your bonuses to damage are getting higher than the actual die of what you're shooting, that can be pretty incredible.
Well, not only that, but when you add to all the feat options for increasing your number of attacks,
yeah,
rapid fire, many shots. So there's that kind of stuff going on as well. And that's just one aspect of the fight. That's just one direction you could take it in. You could be more of a finesse fighter, and fight with a rapier.
Right.
Or you could fight with a rapier and a mangachi if you wanted to. Am I saying it right there? Did I butcher it?
I believe that's right. Yeah.
Right. But so the fighter of today has got so many more options. And now in 5th edition, I looked through it, and again, there's tons of options for fighting. In 5th edition, I'm not sure what they're doing with feats. They're there, but optional.
They're optional, so we'll see when the next section comes out. We'll see what they actually have to say about them.
But but even still, every level you get something interesting, and most of it for the fighter in 5th edition is fightery, as you would expect, combat related. Which is really cool. So it's not that same character it was when I first started playing, where it's not the dummy class anymore. Sure, you don't have all the spell options in there, but it's not like you don't have any options.
Right.
You still have to think about what your character does, and you still have to define it. And then in Pathfinder, which is all about customization, there's so much stuff you can do. 4th edition, again, feats and the power system.
Other, with 4th edition, you had your breakdown of which of the roles did your character fit into, but beyond that, like fighters really had the ability to manipulate the battlefield with pushes and pulls, and it really opened up essentially a little bit more options for what the fighter could actually do. And then we didn't play 4th edition for very long, but there were many times that the fighter and spellcaster worked so well together because the fighter would push the enemies into the clusters so that the wizard could hit the AoEs so much easier.
Well, and you also had the build system too, as far as what kind of fighter you were going to be,
right?
Which was like the core mechanic. So again, basically the point I'm getting at is, the fighter just isn't that simple character that it used to be.
Right.
It wasn't the, I'm going to hit stuff, and it's just a matter, am I using a weapon in 2 hands, or am I using a shield in my offhand? Now there are so many options, even for that shield-wielding character. The shield itself can become a weapon.
Absolutely.
There's a huge feat tree just for fighting with a shield, either as a weapon or defensively.
Or both.
Or both, as the case may be. So, the fighter, if you want high hit points,
right?
You want to mix things up, because at the end of the day, it's right in your name. You got to fight. You're a fighter, whether you do it up close and personal or from a distance.
Your job is there to kill stuff.
Yeah, you're not going to get many skills.
You're not getting many skills. Forget your reflex save. Forget your will save. Those are for those other classes.
Right. You're there to take damage. Well, although you can build the I don't get hit fighter as well.
Absolutely.
But you're there to be a wall. You're there to interpose yourself between the weaker party members
and the bad guys.
And there's just a lot of different flavors for doing it. I mean, you could build the swashbuckling fighter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little tougher.
I've done it. He died.
I've done it. He died.
Not the character build's fault. It was user error.
But the reason why I say it's tougher, especially in previous editions like 3.5 or Pathfinder, is because you don't get as many skill points.
Right.
So, and, the cool skills like acrobatics or tumbling or whatever it is nowadays.
Right. Not class.
Or it's not a class skill for you. And, again, then you have to go dex heavy, which isn't a huge problem.
Right.
And then but then on the other side of that is you're giving up armor for the most case with that type of character.
Well, if you go with the, not everybody's going to always have that 18, but if you get to that 18 dexterity, you can put on, the masterwork armors and, get the maximum dex, out of it, and you're not too far off from that heavy plate mail. There's always that give and take, what happens if you can, get that, whatever the metal is that if you get the mithril where it lowers the category, you can wear the mithril breastplate as a light armor.
Yeah, but I'm thinking when I think of like swashbuckler, I'm thinking like Earl Flynn.
Oh well, of course.
For the flavor of the character.
But if you're power gaming, then that's the route you want to look for. But absolutely, if you're looking for Earl Flynn or Oliver de Burrows. For any of you RA fans out there.
Or, the guy, a couple of the warriors from Princess Bride.
Oh, yeah. Neither of them wore armor.
Well, so then, I mean, there are some things that will help lower your armor class, but, you have to sack out your ability to hit.
Right.
It's a trade-off.
Oh.
But, again, it does show the variety you now have with your fighters. And, any race, too, It's another way of flavoring it. I love me some dwarven fighters. I know you like the elves.
No, there was a time, especially in the second edition, where I was like, what reason do I have to not play an elf? And it really took third edition's human system that really was like, well, humans aren't bad. I think I'll go for him.
Yeah, that feat and skill, it was quite
tough to pass up.
But you could also play against type because you mentioned, Oliver de Burrows.
Oh yeah,
who was a halfling swashbuckler. Yeah, he might have been more of a rogue, but
I would classify him as a rogue fighter. But
Yeah, but still, you can go against type. You can play, other races that aren't considered, traditionally the prime pick for a fighter.
Absolutely, and sometimes those are the most fun because, while you might get some jibs and jabs from your fellow players, maybe even your DM, but the characters that are going to stand out, it's just how it works.
So, what would you say your best tip is for playing a fighter?
You really want to plan it out. You want to have a concept. Don't just sit back and say, yeah, I'm going to play a fighter. I've got, a sword and a shield and, the best armor I can get, and just go. You really want to make sure that you know what you're looking for, many levels in advance so that you're prepared for it. If you want to have that maneuvery type character that's going to take, different things, you're going to have to make sure you've got that 13 intelligence for the all the prereqs. If you're going to go with a two-handed, weapon style and you really want to just impact on the damage, then that you're going to go down this feat tree. So you just need to plot, you need to plan. You can't just, go all willy-nilly and take whatever feat suits your fancy at each level.
My first 3rd edition character was a fighter. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the most fun characters I played. He was an ex-gladiator, orc-blooded human, not a half-orc, but descended of...
somewhere back in the line, he had some orc blood. He was pretty ugly.
Yeah. So, but, and 3rd edition allowed me to build that character because he fought with a reach weapon, and he used mobility on the battlefield. And, he wasn't... Although he wasn't the swashbuckler, he didn't wear the heaviest armors because he wanted to be able to move.
Right. And you did it quite effectively.
And that was a lot of fun. The tactical aspect of 3rd edition and Pathfinder, and I imagine 5th is going to be the same way, and 4th is you really can enjoy your fighter characters more so than some of the other classes.
Well, I mean, I think the combat grid... And yes, it was a money sink of having to, really require your players to invest in the miniatures. You got to see what was going on, whereas, previously it was just, okay,
Oh, no, he couldn't hit me. I was standing over here.
And the number of times it's like, well, how did he get to me? Well, wasn't there a wall in the way? No, he got you. What do you mean he got me? I positioned myself...
So he couldn't get me. But yeah, so I think the tactical nature of 3rd edition and beyond really brings out some of the fighters' attributes and
that really were glossed over in the past.
And it makes for a more interesting game. Makes it a little more fun. If you guys have your fighter stories or your fighter suggestions, put them in the comments below after you like and subscribe.
Absolutely. You can find us. We're on all the social media, Instagram, Twitter. We got our own website, just nerdarchy.com. Obviously, you're seeing us here on YouTube.
Google Nerdarchy and stuff will come up for us. So until next time, my friends, stay nerdy.